Get me laughing before we're even fully live. I think though we probably are live now. And what I thought I would open with, Hugh, uh, is a story that's now happened at least twice in the time that I've been running the Yes Works and helping leaders cultivate culture. And I'll give you just one example of the president of this organization who uh, in our discovery process, before we really got going with his team, he took a stack of paper, maybe it was 8 to 12 pages long. I don't remember exactly. And he said, "This is our culture,"
Oh,
as
wow.
he slid it across the table. Um, and remembering that has got me wondering, how do you cultivate a culture that can scale, that can endure? How do you even define what culture is? Because at least I infer from your saying "wow" that you would agree with me. Culture is not what's written on a stack of papers.
I would actually go so far as to tell you that his sliding that stack of papers to you told you a lot about their culture in the actual act.
I would venture to say you are correct, sir. Um, uh, and so, we define culture at the Yes Works as it's the attitudes and tendencies of behavior that are contagious across a community. That's I haven't ever said it exactly like that before, but essentially that's what I think about. And your company is a community. What are your thoughts?
Okay, here's how that shows up for us. I went to a part of our meeting. We have an all team. We're a company that operates on EOS. So for
Yep.
those of you who are not familiar, EOS is it stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's a framework that was created by a guy named Gino Wickman, made famous in a book called Traction. And it talks about a series of meetings that you get to have in which you are very, very efficient and effective in managing people's time and making communication both useful and expedient. And so we have very efficient meetings, and we make sure that the content of those meetings really support people. One of the sections of the meetings is the weekly wins. And in the weekly wins, you're encouraged to share things that are very positive about the company or yourself or whatever you want to celebrate.
Mm.
And I've been to other level 10 meetings in other companies, and that's usually where people have an opportunity to really position themselves and aggrandize their achievements, and and it's positive. Nothing wrong with celebrating the things that you did well,
So
that you
people
want
are
to
saying,
bring the
ah,
company's.
here's
Yes,
here's my win, here's my win, right? And then
here's
you would
my
say, okay,
win,
here's my
this
win.
thing. Yes,
Right.
and you go
Everybody's
around the room
celebrating
and
themselves.
folks.
Fantastic.
Yes, not once does that happen in any of our weekly wins. What happens in our weekly wins is it normally starts off with the project managers highlighting processors that have done something extraordinary in the last week to deliver some outcome that was just superb, a superlative of some sort. They overcame some kind of obstacle to deliver customer deliverable on time. The bosses usually will have an opportunity to highlight individual contributions of their folks, or people will be thankful for the support they received while on vacation. And that will be considered a weekly win. The fact that nobody bothered them while they were away and the company had their back. And they will say these things. And so it is an element of culture for our business that When you celebrate, especially in this little fragment of the meeting, you celebrate how other people have enriched your life
Mm.
and advanced the objective of the company.
That is a major win. Like being on vacation and being undisturbed is
Yes.
absolutely a win. Like if I'm on vacation and I'm undisturbed, I have won, and somebody else has accomplished that victory.
Yes. Yes. And so to have that be consistently a weekly win where we celebrate other people and we bring attention to the good that others do.
Right on.
And I realized that is one of the underpinnings of our culture. Something else that shows up, and it comes up in meetings quite often, is this is actually also now culture. What time is it? Bad idea time. Bad idea time. And so someone will yell that out now. And some one of my lead processors said this in a meeting about a week and a half ago. The director of finance had said, "Oh, I didn't realize it was still bad idea time," and he piped up and said, "It's always bad idea time." and and I can't tell you how happy that made me
So I
because
know what
this
you're talking about with bad idea
okay,
time. What is bad idea time for
bad
those who
idea
aren't
time.
in the know with us?
Okay, so bad idea time is where it is, and I always go first if I am in the room and I'm the one that called it. Basically, it's an opportunity for us to throw out ill-formed, hastily considered thoughts without fear of judgment.
Mm.
It is brainstorming, but without the political morass, without the positioning, and without having to care about how you are looking and how you're being perceived. Because brainstorming itself can sometimes have political ramifications, right? And only certain people's ideas are necessarily worth sharing. And the whole idea is to involve and to inspire other people to share things that you haven't thought about before. So we all just agree ahead of time that we're having bad ideas. And
Right.
some people share some really great bad ideas.
Eh, and so it really is, it sounds like permission to step forward with whatever your idea might
Yes.
be. Maybe there's some gold in them thar hills,
Yes.
that if you didn't give people that freedom and safety to come up with bad ideas, they may not share their ideas at all, even if they're good.
Mhm. Well, and what ends up happening normally, yes, and what ends up happening normally is something brilliant will normally show up. Probably not on the first, second, third,
Mm.
fourth, or fifth tries, but then somebody will say something and everyone in the room will kind of go silent and go, "Oh my gosh, that's the most obvious thing ever. Why didn't I think of that?"
Well,
And you
Steven
know it's a
Spielberg.
great bad idea when, "Oh my God, that's the most obvious thing ever." And what warms my heart now is that one of my other lead processors has said it's my favorite thing about the company is bad idea time. My
That is
favorite time is the favorite time of any meeting is when somebody screams bad idea time.
so. I mean, we can come back to bad idea time in some ways. I want to look at bad idea time in a more abstract fashion, because one
Sure.
of the things that I really love about bad idea time is, without saying so, you've really described a ritual, and I'm gonna wax a little geeky here about ritual, because ritual is one of the most contagious forms
Mhm.
of culture.
Yes.
You describe this ritual in which someone initiates the ritual with
Yes.
a scream. There is
Yes.
there is a call and response. What did you say? What time is it? Is
What
that right?
time is it?
What
Yes.
time is it? Everybody knows the response. And so you enter this ritual space
Yes.
communally,
And it's
you
safe.
and deliberately,
Yes.
and with loud markers. And and then you enter what I think of as kind of a liminal space, a space between here and there where bad ideas flow as a way of priming the pump for the brilliance that you said often then emerges. And it really does follow the whole framework of what a ritual is for.
Well, I don't know that I've ever thought about it so deeply, and I'm grateful for you doing this. No one raises their hand during bad idea time.
So it really is a ritual space. You just said the rules are different inside this space. Even the rules of
Yeah.
engagement are different.
And anybody can contribute. Anybody, anywhere is allowed to have a bad idea, and they're allowed to just blurt it out. The only thing I begin to monitor is I now will scan all the cameras looking for anyone that makes any kind of move, but maybe not called on because somebody else is talking. So one of the things you just have to manage with bad idea time is that no one person is hogging the floor. Worst of all, myself.
Right.
So one of the things I am very, very disciplined about doing is getting my bad idea out and then asking the questions, what am I wrong about in my thought here? How have I messed this up?
Well, I love that, and I wonder if you mean also when you're scanning the images. I assume we're in a Zoom room or something like that.
Yes, usually.
I'm imagining from what you said that you're looking for things also like signals that somebody has something to say,
Yes, that's correct.
even if they aren't assertive enough, or if there isn't the space made for them to get through all the people who are jumping in on bad idea time.
Well, and this is a nuance. What will also happen is if the topic affects a certain department or group, I won't move on until I've heard from every person from that department.
Right on. Yeah. And so, you've been through our training in the fundamentals of legendary teaming, and you're highlighting a few of the principles there. One, be obvious.
Mm.
What's obvious to me isn't necessarily what's obvious to you. And so, and the other one that I'm not sure you've been through the second phase of that, where we say everything is an offer, which is a principle from theater improvisation. When
Okay.
somebody on the screen says, and you don't hear the sound because somebody else is speaking, that signal is an offer. It's a gift telling you, hey, I've got something to say. And so then you move back into this principle, get it, give it, where you can't possibly have a relevant response until you first take it all in. So I got to say, hey, Hugh, it looked like you had a thought right there. I'd love to hear it. And so even you're saying, okay, this decision affects our product delivery team. I need to hear from all those product delivery team people. That is you in my language exercising this principle of get it, give it. We cannot have a relevant response to this moment. We cannot make a relevant decision until we first have heard from these people.
Yes. And one of the things we've learned too, one of the reasons I think we become a compelling place to work is, well, and I learned this from my check cashing days. There is no more powerful a gift than to have someone know that I see you, I hear you, and you matter. And I realize that in some of my employees' lives, these meetings are really the only place they have to exert that which looks like leadership, that which looks like an opinion that will be sustained and valued. And I realize in some cases, this venue is probably one of the only places where they get to speak publicly.
Right.
And so they the other thing that happens, ritual and culture, we're talking about it, is part of what we also offer is something called a cascading message. Now, via EOS, cascading message is supposed to be something of value that a person is supposed to just share with the group. We've turned it into something else where it's an opportunity in 2 minutes for a person on the team to share anything that they want to with the team.
Mm.
And it's kind of a dangerous time because we don't monitor and we don't censor what people want to talk about. We don't control that part of the meeting.
Right.
And we leave it to them and their discretion to have an opportunity to impress upon their peers whatever they want. And this particular meeting segment has been going on for 8 years, and I've only had a cringing experience twice.
That's a lot of reps with
Yes.
with only to have only two cringeworthy
Like
moments.
cringeworthy moments where somebody I think was talking about religion very excessively, and somebody else was talking about, I don't know, some other topic that was just borderline what this time is supposed to be for.
Yeah.
And even so, okay, so we will recover, but more importantly, they know that they get to hear from their friends. And there are some folks, their cascading messages are always amazing. Like there is an employee I have, her name is Jenny, and people look forward to her cascading messages, and they rotate.
Yeah.
Everybody always does them. The only person that doesn't do one is me because I talk enough in the meetings.
Yeah. So if I think back to, you know, the promise of our episode here, we're promising to help leaders figure out how to cultivate a culture that delivers results, that's scalable, and that can endure. And we've got a couple of things. One is it's not the stack of papers. Right? Here's one thing you can know is it's not about having a stack of papers. Ritual helps. Defining it effectively as the behaviors and the tendencies of behaviors. And I said the ones that are contagious, the secret is they're all contagious. All the behaviors in your organization are contagious. So it really matters what you tolerate. It really matters what you reward and what you cultivate. These repeating rituals that you have really create a sense of community, and I'm imagining help you retain talent, because people feel they belong in a place where there are rituals of inclusion like you're describing.
I agree with you. And what I would tell you is I was thinking about all the ways to not do this. So one of the things I realized I had to give up a long time ago was the idea that I could control the culture, that the culture should be this. You can have aspirations for what you would like to achieve as the results of your culture that you can control to some extent.
Yeah.
But what your culture actually shows up as is usually an extension of your best and worst traits.
Yeah, not only yours, right? I mean, one of the things that comes up for me too is, you know, I do my best to raise a healthy, honest, kind daughter, for example.
Yep.
Not all of her behaviors
are those things
show up that way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong about that.
We do not control other human beings.
And you know, this is the hard part. Chances are the worst things you observe happen to be probably the worst things about ourselves.
Yeah. Certainly the things that get us most worked up. Right. If it didn't somehow reflect us, it probably wouldn't get us worked up as much.
Well, and think also the part of that is how dedicated are you? You know, we talk about it all the time at our executive staff meetings. boiling frogs. That's the other thing about culture, is that the reps matter.
Mm.
So you might want a particular kind of relationship with the team coalescing and the things you want them to have and focus on. And you've got to be prepared for that to not be the case, for you to be the standard bearer. Because the other thing I realize is that my worst day can be what somebody justifies as their everyday.
Say that again another way.
Okay? The worst of my habits and behaviors can easily be justified as the beginning of somebody else's to engage our culture.
What I think I hear you saying is, you as the leader of this organization, if we're thinking of behaviors as contagious,
Mm-hmm.
your behaviors have your behaviors are the measles.
Yes.
Right? They are the most contagious behaviors in your organization. And I think
Yes.
you're 100% right.
Yes.
And so leading by example, I would say, is necessary and insufficient. And a lot of the clients that we get, I have leaders come to me and they say, I'm leading by example. I'm showing everybody what accountability looks like. For example, I can think of one CEO who came to me and she said, I am accountable. I am leading by example of accountability every day, and my team isn't accountable. Now, there's no way she's. There are a couple of problems with that. She may be accountable to the thing, the specific. What she means is, she does what she says she's going to do. Great.
Right.
If she wasn't doing what she said she was going to do, there's no way that she would have that level of accountability on her team. It's necessary and not sufficient.
Right.
And the other piece of accountability that's missing there is that if you're at the head of the organization and there are persistent behaviors that you don't want in your company, then you have created an environment that welcomes those behaviors that you say you don't want in your company. And so the first place to look is, how am I showing up? What is the environment that I am as a leader that these behaviors that I say I don't want persist?
Or how am I facilitating them? Because whether you are doing them actively or you are letting them happen,
Right.
kind of is the same. And
Right.
this is a complete. So one of the things I used to do. Oh, go ahead.
One more thing to put into that mix is, how have you created structures that what's the word I'm looking for? Structures that lead people to the behavior you don't want. I
Okay.
think of I remember some place where I went often as a kid, where there was a sidewalk that kind of went like this, right? Big, long. If you wanted to get across the hypotenuse or of the triangle, you were asked to follow this sidewalk along, and walk a very long way. And there were signs that
Right.
say, keep off the grass. And yet
Right.
there was a footpath worn through the grass across the hypotenuse, right? People will behave in the ways that are easy and that serve their purposes. And
Right.
so what do you make easy, and what do you make it look as if it's going to serve people's purposes? That's also a
Right.
part of cultivating a culture that performs and endures, is making it easy for people and rewarding for people to engage in the behaviors that you want to see.
So you have hit on so many good points. And I forgot the thing I was going to say earlier, when that's totally okay too. Because what you have fired up in my brain is something you'll hear me say. So one of the things that I talk about and I sort for as a leader is the eradication of bureaucracy. I am potently allergic to anything that looks like bureaucracy. And I'll define bureaucracy for you as I enforce it in my business. It is any process that does not directly impact or improve the customer's experience, and or a process that includes some kind of activity that whose result will not directly benefit the customer or the customer's experience.
So here's a great example of bureaucracy that we've all experienced. You're in the checkout line at the grocery store. The checker accidentally runs your can of beans across the thing twice and it goes beep, beep. They cannot delete that item from your bill, right? The duplicate. They cannot delete it without a manager. So everything grinds to a halt. They raise their hand while the customer has to wait for them to make sure that this checker doesn't abuse the privilege of taking $1.50 off your bill.
Right.
And how much are we paying everybody to stand around during that time?
And what are we risking with the customer service experience while everybody's just
Right.
waiting for this thing to happen? Yes.
That's bureaucracy, as
And
I understand you're defining it.
and I'll give you an example. So we have an administrative assistant in our business that does no expense reports. Who's going to read expense reports? Who's going to do that? I'm not going to read expense reports. Our director of finance has far more important things to do than read expense reports. So people do their own expense reports if they have expense reports, and our finance team they don't do expense reports. Other people who have the option and the action to do it, they do them. I also don't have reports that are generated for me, because reports being generated for me, I cannot justify them supporting the customer's experience. And there are more effective ways for reports to be generated that don't involve a human being literally assembling a report for me to look at.
So this is a feature of culture that you have made a policy to remove bureaucracy from your organization, which it sounds like means you aren't burning extra cycles. There aren't cycles being burned at a higher level than they need to be burned, or maybe not even at a higher level, just in a role that doesn't need to burn those cycles.
And I'm not even allowed myself to have bureaucratic processes support me.
And the benefits accrue to the company because you're not wasting those resources, and the benefits accrue to the customer as well.
Yes. And so we become very focused. So everybody and their mother is focused on the customer and their outcome and their well-being. And it means that a lot of people do a lot of their own work if necessary. And it also means that there are not a lot of extra perks. And there's nothing that has me be better than someone else just because I happen to have the role of CEO. That just means that I support more. That's all that means.
Right. And one of the things, here we are, you and I are aligned as we knew we were. Again, if I come back to the promise that we've made for this episode, how do you cultivate a culture where people thrive, where results thrive, and how do you make it scalable and enduring? And you're not talking about microscopic, really granular policy. You're talking about principles.
Yes.
We don't do bureaucracy is a principle. When we train teams to communicate and collaborate effectively, we do have some process and procedure to help if and when the client wants us to get there. Like, here's a framework for giving feedback. That framework is built on principles, and we talked about some of them earlier. So part of how you create a culture that can scale and endure is by not nickel and diming people with such granular policy that they can't hold it in their heads. Right. You create principles. Your core values, if you have core values in your company, are such principles. You create principles that are few enough, obvious enough, comprehensible enough, simple enough that people, even if they forget the policy, they go, oh, well, this looks like bureaucracy, so I don't know what the policy is about this. Since it looks like bureaucracy, I'm just going to skip it.
Or it comes up in a meeting and in bad idea time, they identify, oh, this
What time
actually
is it?
violates bad idea time.
Okay, then this
Bad
process
idea
right
time.
here, we just got to eliminate it because it's bureaucracy.
So one of the other things that shows up is, I say it often in meetings, I want this to be an easy place to work.
Mm,
So one of the things that I have my managers and my
another print.
admin folks is, how can we design it so that your work is as organic as possible?
Mm,
You're not looking in extra places to find things to remind you to do certain things. How can we bake your role and all the things you have to care about into the tools that you're using or the work that's right in front of you, and you're not going anywhere extra to
right.
go find resources?
You know what? That makes me think of. I used to be a theater carpenter, uh, ages ago. I was a carpenter in the theater, and I remember the day that I got a new cordless drill. Right,
Mm.
we call a screw gun. Right, it's like you put a screw on the thing, and you drive the screws with this thing. And the new one had a magnet at the base that would hold screws. Right, so I was no longer walking around with like 10 screws in my mouth. Right, I was grabbing a screw off the bottom of my screw gun. I didn't have to go looking for screws. And so when you describe this desire to have work be easy,
Yes.
I remember the day that I got a new screw gun with a magnet on the base. I remember the day that I got a new screw gun with a light built
Oh,
in,
wow. That makes it
right?
even
So
better.
that even if I'm under the stage on my back on the floor, where there's, the floor is black, there's no light reflecting, even though I'm in a brightly lit room in a dark space. So the
Right.
day that could take the flashlight out of my mouth,
Yeah.
right? Like, there are a lot of days I spent with metal stuff in my mouth, hoping I wasn't going to chip my teeth. And these things create a they do create culture because they changed behaviors of mine that were dangerous to my teeth. They
Yes.
also reduced my stress, so I was probably more fun to be around,
Yes.
and they made me more efficient and effective at my job.
Yes. 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 And in our world, that translates to us being able to take on harder and harder scopes because memory and responsibilities are designed into the tools that people are using. I'm not interested in someone working as hard as possible to getting an outcome. I want the thinking to be done in the design of the process
Mm,
so that the execution can have maximum attention, not calculation.
right.
And we also hire. So one of the things we've done is we use the Colby Right Fit. There's a profiling mechanism called the Colby, and it basically gives you what's called a cognitive profile. It's not a
Yeah.
personality test, but it tells you, if you are striving, how do you organize your world so that you seek success? How do you do that? And
Someday
what
I'll
we
show you my Colby profile.
Okay, I didn't know that you were familiar with Colby. I'm
Only
very
a little.
interested to know your numbers.
Yeah.
Well, in our case, we design every role around what's called a right fit. So we hire for people for whom the responsibilities of the job
Are a
are
piece of cake.
designed to be like play.
Yeah.
So when they're doing the work, it feels easy to them because the responsibilities align with the way they strive for maximum success.
I love it.
And that again is all commitment to making this place an easy place to work.
Right
And I
on.
want it to get easier. And that organizing principle is powerful. I don't know that I've ever heard someone articulate, you did this today, heard them articulate the fact that these cultural rituals actually stem from a series of principles. And And now that I'm thinking about it, we absolutely have those in spades.
Yeah.
And they drive everything we think about and do.
And so how long have you been doing, say, bad idea time, for example?
Bad idea time is new. Bad idea time has only been around for 3 months.
Okay. So how did it start?
I was in a meeting and I think I just said, you know what? I have a terrible idea. How about this? And people just felt this, like you could feel a company wide exhale
Mm.
where the folks were just like, okay, well, what about this?
Since it's a terrible idea, we can beat it up.
And what was curious about bad idea time is that nobody criticizes. They
Mm.
only come up with
Mm.
their own bad idea.
Mm. And so how did the specific entry into the ritual? What time is it? How did that happen?
It was the second time, and it was the second meeting that we were having. And at some point I said, you know, what time is it? It's bad idea time. I'll
Okay.
go first.
So you did the call and the response,
Yes.
introduced
And
this
the third
intro.
the third statement was I'll go first. That part
Yeah,
has since died. And
right.
now it's just what time is it? And people have a lot of fun responding to the stimulus.
Yeah.
And like I said, one of the most, just clearly genius fellas on the team. It's his favorite thing about the company now.
And so since we talked the promise again of the episode, how do you develop a culture that scales and endures? You didn't have to say, okay, folks, here's what we're gonna do as a matter of culture. Somebody's gonna yell, what time is it? And then somebody else is going to yell, or everybody else is going to yell, it's bad idea time. And then we're going to all give our bad ideas. Though you could have done that,
Sure.
the power of ritual as something that can scale and endure is really evident in your story because you
Yes.
never had to say, here's what we're going to do. And if you want more evidence for the idea that ritual is one of the things that can really endure, well, how old is the Catholic Church?
Right.
Right? Talk about scale. Talk about endurance. Um, uh, and if you go into any fringe culture, like skateboarding culture or surfing culture or skiing culture or fashion culture, there are rituals in all of those places that have scaled, that endure across ages, that scale across regions without even trying. If you
And I guess to your point, to help augment it and bring it home for some people who are watching this, uh, the idea is that it takes time and patience, and it doesn't come day one.
Mm.
And though you may want it, you you can't you can't force this. It's not something that can be forced. It's something that gets to be allowed and appreciated and loved, and you get to dance with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful dance, and it starts with a fair amount of direction and humility and attention. It's not something you can demand,
Mm.
and you look at it almost as a referendum on yourself. If you are not seeing the results in the culture that you want, people, if and you get to be intentional about the things that you want to be true about the workplace that you're creating. At the same time, you get to also be honest with yourself as to whether or not you are the avatar for those ideals. Because if you're not, you're going to have a real hard time creating something that you're not.
True story.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
We've talked about the contagiosity of, if that's a word, of behavior, the contagiousness. We've talked about ritual. We've talked about uh, now you're talking about your culture is going to reflect you.
Mm.
There is, there are things in our lives I find just, as I accumulate white hairs, um, I find things like leadership and parenthood and all kinds of stuff. When I give up demanding that the world be different,
Amen.
then I find that there's an opportunity for me to grow in order to have the things around me be more the way I want them. Uh, it's given up the control often and looking inside that actually once I go, okay, you know what, whatever happens is okay, and I start to look at me, then things shift.
Okay. So now yes, and we have now gotten to a new part of the conversation, which we won't take too long to navigate. What I will tell you is that's my job as a CEO. That's my number one job as a CEO is to, and we actually have a core value that was rewritten. I told you about it. I'll just tell you what it is. We are the space, we are a space where chaos fades away.
Mm,
And what that means to me, based on what you just said, is part of my job as the CEO is to make it okay.
mm,
I don't condone lack of results, lack of excellence. That's not the point. But if you are coming to me from any role, my job is to be here and a space to make anything you say acceptable and okay in this moment so we can then formulate a plan to go deal with it. And that lack of reactivity, the ability to absorb information as neutral
mm,
events,
mm.
character building as that might be, it's my number one responsibility
Right.
is to be a space where chaos fades away and we can intelligently face anything. Bankruptcy is on the is on the horizon. $50 million lawsuit. People are coming after us. Employees just stole $250,000. We're here. Got it.
Well, that's a
We're
whole
going to be
nother
able to walk through this.
whole nother thing to unpack.
And
Uh,
that is also part of the culture. Keep going.
right. Um, Reminds me of a message I sent to a former team member on LinkedIn just today. And that's a story for another time because I think we are out of time. Folks, this is Leadership Uncertain, where we are talking with you and having adventures in confusion, power, love, and dignity. Uh, like and subscribe if you found value in this conversation and or found value in conversations that Hugh and I have had on this show in the past. Share it with folks. Share it far and wide. That ain't a bad ritual.
I appreciate these things. Uh,
All right,
thank you
folks.
for
Thanks a
today.
lot. And we'll see you next time.
Okay, be well.